Torrenting on Arch can take a little bit of effort to set up to actually be nice and comfortable to use. So today we're going to have a look at my torrenting setup with transmission. So let's get started. Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So the transmission software itself comes in two main parts. So if we look at the pacman install and we search for transmission, so when you install transmission CLI, you get both a CLI tool to actually look at the transmission daemon basically, and that's the other part. You have the transmission daemon. You can use that directly if you want to. There are commands that allow you to directly use that, if I can spell properly. What is it? Transmission daemon or something? Yeah, there we go. So you can run these commands directly if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's just much easier to be able to actually see everything you're actually trying to download. So the other tool that comes with it is transmission remote CLI. So this will bring up basically a CLI tool to actually look at the torrents that you're downloading and all of that jazz. But if you do want to use a GUI application, there are two options. Well, actually, there's three options. You've got the Qt application, you've got the GTK application, or the other option is it runs on effectively a web server. So it has a port that you can access it on, which is localhost 9091. And this brings up the same thing, but in a web browser. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this myself. I just don't like the interface, and if I can run it in my terminal, then I might as well just do that. But there's a couple of things that I've done to make using transmission much easier, because by default, things like magnet links don't get followed. So to deal with that, we have to set up a MIME map. So where is that? That is in my config, I believe. Yes. So we have this mimemap.list file here. So in here we have these two lines, this xscheme handler and application line. So this first one here will, when I click on a magnet link, it will run this torrent.desktop file, and when I click on a BitTorrent file, it will do the same thing. So what this file is, it should be in my user slash, oh, that's a bit slow, user slash share slash applications, yes. So if we come down here, I could have just searched that. I don't know why I didn't do that. We have this torrent.desktop file. I don't actually need this line here. I don't know why it's here. Oh, it's a whatever. We'll just leave it as it is. So what this file does, basically when this file is run, it will, so we've got this type, this name, and this execute part. So the type basically just says what sort of file this is. The name is, it doesn't really matter, but there just needs to be there. And then the exec part is the most important part. This is where you run the command when you encounter one of those files that we talked about before, either a BitTorrent file or a magnet link. So what happens when you execute this file, this script that I've got in my scripts folder called transadd, and you pass in the U argument, which basically just passes in the name of the file, or for the case of a magnet link, it passes in the URL. So that file, that transadd file, is in my scripts folder. So basically what this one does, so first up we basically test if the transmission daemon is running. If it is, then, if it's not, then we'll just start it up. And after that we run transmission remote and add that file that we got. And then I send a notification with notify send command. Actually, we'll show you shortly. And then after that, we basically signal my i3 blocks to update this bar down the bottom here, so I can see basically what's happening with my torrents without having to actually go and look at my torrent client. So there's a few other files that I've got running with transmission. So we've got this transclear file, which I've got running on a cron job, I think every 4 or 6 hours. If we move the webcam there, that's better. So basically this one, what this does, it will list out all of the files that are in transmission, and basically everything that is 100% done, it will just remove it. A fairly simple script. I will probably run that actually in a minute. I'll do that. And then we do the same thing. We send a signal to i3 blocks. So if we were to run the transclear command, and I move my webcam again, where's a good spot? That one. I forgot what my hotkeys were, so sorry about that. And basically, So we go back into transmission remote and all of my torrents are gone now. So what else did we have? So if we go back to my scripts folder, we've got two more scripts that are fairly important. So we've got this trans.rss file. Basically what this will do is it will start up a program called transmission-rss in the background. So by default, transmission doesn't have any ability to actually read an RSS feed, which I think is really annoying because I don't want to have to sift through all of the stuff that I want to download. I'd rather it just be completely automatic. So basically what transmission-rss does, it will read a RSS feed and all of the magnet links and all of the BitTorrent links, it just chucks into your transmission client basically. So yeah, the -f argument here basically will just open up the program in the background so I don't have to worry about it. So we can look just briefly at the config file for that one. So you've got the URL part here, and the rest of it is just a massive regex because I don't particularly want to download everything. There we go. I don't particularly want to download everything that shows up in the feed for this. I just want to download whatever I'm watching. And if you want to pause here and just see what I'm watching and then laugh at me, go right ahead. I don't really care. And okay, so we'll go back and look at the last script here, which is tor_done. So basically this one, when transmission is done, it has the ability to, or every time a torrent finishes, it has the ability to run a script. I'll show you how that's done in a moment. And basically this will just print out the name of the torrent that has just finished and then do the same thing, this signal to i3 blocks to update this down here. So if we go back to my config files, then in my transmission, or daemon, that one, if we go into the settings section and then there is a line, there's actually two lines. So you have to enable a script to be run every time that your torrent finishes. And you just basically change, it's a JSON file, so if you haven't worked with JSON, it's fairly simple structure. Just look at the rest of the file and you can probably work out how it goes. You just stick a true in here when you want to run a script every time the torrent is done, and then you provide the name of the script file that you want to run. So because I don't actually have, I guess I could go and find a torrent to do, but I don't feel like it. So we'll just run these scripts. So if we run trans_add, okay, maybe I do need to find a torrent for that one. We'll just run the others and then I'll go find a torrent. So tor_done, basically what that does, if you saw, opens up a little notification up here. So I will find a torrent that we can open up. Actually, why did I do it like that? Let's go to, so let's say we want to download this random episode of Symphogear. So you hit that and it will say transmission daemon torrent added. There is a slight bug with this because of the way that torrents are added. It doesn't actually update my block down the bottom here properly. I do need to look into that. It will update them properly when they finish, but in between, like if I add a second one in here, it will say there's one in there. That's a slight problem. I should deal with that, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So I think that is pretty much everything for this video. If you like this video, remember to like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon below if you want to see more from my channel. And if you think your friends will like this video, remember to share it with them as well. So I think that is pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.